He lay flat on his back, the cool, damp earth a comforting presence beneath him, smelling of pine needles and rich, dark soil. Above, the canopy of ancient trees parted, revealing a vast, bruised blue sky stretched taut and wide. Elias had come to this hidden clearing, seeking a quiet pause, a moment away from the insistent hum of the world, and perhaps from the louder hum of his own unsettled thoughts. He watched the clouds, slow and deliberate at first, drifting like lazy sheep across the endless pasture of the sky. They were soft white and gray, painted with the faint blush of a distant setting sun. But then something shifted. Not just the clouds themselves, but the way they moved. A subtle tightening, a gathering, as if an invisible hand began to sculpt the ethereal canvas directly above him. His gaze, which had been idly wandering, became fixed, compelled. The diffuse, formless wisps began to coalesce, to draw inward, not in a chaotic swirl, but with a deliberate, almost intelligent intent. He watched, breath held, as billowy masses seemed to stretch and compress, forming hollows and ridges, an intricate dance of light and shadow. It was uncanny. It was beautiful. And then it was unmistakable. Two vast, knowing eyes began to take shape, deep-set and profound, composed of shadowed gray and illuminated white. Below them, a ridge for a nose, impossibly grand, stretching across the vast expanse of the sky. And then, slowly, majestically, a mouth. It was immense, a cavernous opening in the cloudscape, defined by its very absence, by the darker, more compressed clouds forming its lips. Elias felt a shiver trace its way down his spine, not of fear, but of profound, bewildered awe. This was not a random configuration. This was a face, a monumental, silent presence, observing him from the heavens. The mouth, that colossal aperture, began to open. Slowly, as if struggling against an invisible weight, the cloud lips parted further, revealing an even deeper chasm, a silent, gaping maw in the sky. Elias pushed himself up slightly on his elbows, his heart thrumming a quick, erratic beat against his ribs. What was this? A trick of the light? A fatigue-induced hallucination? He pinched himself, a sharp, grounding pain. No, this was real. The sky itself had formed a colossal visage, and it was opening its mouth, as if to speak. And then the wind changed. It wasn't the usual gentle breeze that rustled the leaves in the surrounding forest. This was a different kind of current, subtle yet distinct. It felt as if the air itself was moving directly from that vast cloud-borne mouth, carrying with it a presence that was both alien and strangely familiar. And then he heard it, a whisper, not a whisper on the wind, but the wind itself whispering. And the voice was his own. It was Elias's voice, unmistakable, with its slight huskiness, the particular cadence he used when speaking to himself, when lost in thought. But it wasn't an echo. It was as if his own inner monologue, the quiet, persistent stream of consciousness that lived behind his eyes, had been amplified, externalized, and breathed out by the very sky. The whisper was soft, yet perfectly clear, carried on that peculiar breath of wind. "You've been waiting for a sign, haven't you, Elias?" Elias froze, his jaw slack. The words, his words, spoken by the sky. He had been waiting for a sign, for direction, for clarity, for anything that might nudge him from the comfortable yet stagnant uncertainty he'd been living in. The whispering continued, flowing like a gentle current from the cloud mouth. You feel adrift, like you're watching your life from a distance rather than living it. It was true, every word. It was a mirror held up to his innermost self, reflecting back sentiments he'd only ever acknowledged in the quietest corners of his mind. You tell yourself you're content, the voice continued, but there's a quiet ache for something more, something deeper, isn't there? Elias felt a profound sense of recognition, almost a physical pain. It was as if the sky had seen directly into his soul, not just his surface thoughts, but the buried longings, the unspoken fears. The comforting aspect was that it wasn't accusatory. It was simply an observation delivered with the gentle understanding he might offer a dear friend. You crave connection, authentic connection, but you've built walls so high you sometimes forget how to lower them. He swallowed hard. Yes, all of it. The sky wasn't telling him anything new, not really. It was simply affirming what he already knew, what he had perhaps chosen to ignore or minimize. But hearing it spoken, in his own voice, from such an impossible source, gave it a weight, a gravity that his internal musings never quite achieved. The face in the sky remained, a silent, all-encompassing observer. The whispers paused, allowing the weight of the words to settle, to sink into his very bones. Then they resumed, softer still, almost like a fond farewell. The answers you seek, Elias, they're not out here. They're within you, always have been. And then, as subtly as it had formed, the face began to dissipate. The vast mouth softened, its edges blurring. The eyes, so profound moments before, dissolved back into formless clouds. The unique wind that had carried his own voice faded, replaced by the familiar rustling breeze of the forest. Within moments, the sky above him was once again just a stretch of blue and white, beautiful but ordinary, as if the extraordinary encounter had been nothing more than a waking dream. Elias lay back down, his limbs feeling strangely light, his mind buzzing with a quiet intensity. The face was gone, the whisper ceased, but the resonance of that moment lingered, a clear, unmistakable echo within him. He hadn't received a grand revelation or a divine command. Instead, the sky had offered him a profound, humbling self-reflection. It had taken his most private thoughts, the ones he perhaps hadn't fully acknowledged, and projected them back to him, giving them a form and a voice that demanded attention. What he learned in that impossible moment was not some secret truth of the universe, but a deeper truth about himself. That the wisdom he sought wasn't external, waiting to be delivered by some grand cosmic messenger. It was already present, woven into the fabric of his own being, waiting for him to truly listen, to truly hear his own voice, unfiltered and clear. This encounter changed him, gently but fundamentally. It served as a powerful reminder that sometimes the most profound messages come not from an outside source, but from within, amplified by the most unexpected of stages. It encouraged him to listen more closely to that inner voice, the one that whispers our deepest truths, our quietest hopes, and our most honest reflections. Perhaps, in our own lives, we don't always need a grand cloud-formed face to speak to us. Sometimes, simply finding a quiet clearing, lying back, and truly listening to the whispers within ourselves is all the guidance we need. I wonder, what whispers have you heard in the quiet moments of your own life? What truths have echoed back to you when you least expected them? I'd love to hear your thoughts on this story, or perhaps your own experiences with unexpected moments of clarity. Please feel free to share your reflections in the comments below, or connect with us on social media. And if you enjoyed this story, consider subscribing for more tales that explore the gentle mysteries of life.